Aaron Moten, I know you didn't play the game Fallout, so what was your familiarity with Fallout in general when this show came to you?
Oh my goodness, Fallout in general. I think if I had seen a poster or if I had seen a photograph of the T-60, like the big power armor suit, I would have recognized it to be Fallout. But yeah, totally new to me. The world, the deep dive, if you will.
Hmm. So what when you did the audition and everything, how much research did you do like going into it?
Oh, a ton. I mean, thankfully, not just YouTube, but Twitch, streamers. Thankfully there's such a great following of the game that, there was a lot of content for me to sort of devour, especially when it came to environments, uh, seeing also what Howard Cummings and his team were going to be trying to put together. I remembered walking into the studio for my test on camera with Ella, and it really, it was a full vault. It was like the full vault set had been built, and they'd been working on it for a while, and it was remarkable.
You're like, now I gotta book this.
Yeah,
I
yeah,
want to
yeah.
stay here.
If I didn't want the job before, now I really want it.
You can't tease me like this, right?
Yeah.
Well, I know you made a choice not to play the game afterwards either, right?
That's right.
Mhm.
And that was more because I think, my job as an actor always feels like, bringing a human element to something. I felt that if I jumped into the video game, I think I'd be overly concerned with other things happening on set than what I need to be concerned with, or maybe trying to plug in some of my favorite things into scenes where they don't belong. Yeah, so it felt more freeing to just focus on the script, the words, and my scene partners.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, in that same vein, I love that the show features an original story. It's not tied to the game. Because I'm not familiar with the game either. So I like you were saying, like I think that allows like everyone that type of freedom, and you don't really know where it's going. And then
Yeah.
you as an actor, you have that freedom with the character while also celebrating the world of Fallout,
Exactly.
right?
Exactly. And I think, fans of the game maybe have a better educated guessing system as to what's happening next, but yeah, it's an interesting ride for everyone, whether you know the games or not.
They know all the Easter eggs, and I'm like, I don't know what they are.
Yeah. Did you see that? And you're like,
Yeah, I'm like,
yeah,
what?
what
I'm
is
like,
it?
I
What
was like,
is
I have to
yeah.
Google. Yeah. Well, Maximus, your character, he's so interesting because he's ostensibly part of a family, the Brotherhood of Steel, but he's also this lost, lonely soul, and he has this kind of internal struggle, like he just wants to belong somewhere and have purpose. So, how did you approach the character, and what did you and Geneva and Graham discuss beforehand?
Um, I felt really well, I always have this, I guess, this saying of like being a conductor as an actor. Sometimes things hit you and sometimes they don't. Uh, you if they're not hitting you, I guess you have to work on yourself to like get struck by the lightning, just wrap yourself in tinfoil or whatever it is that metaphorically do. But I think we started. I brought something to the table which was from Shakespeare. It's Julius Caesar, and it's a description of the character of Cassius, who's part of the coup. The the revolters, if you will, of the storyline. But he describes the Cassius's ambition like a hungry dog. And I think that I really loved the image. And I really wanted to bring this sort of tension to Maximus, I guess, at all times. And yes, that war going on inside of him, but that whenever even he changes and wants something different, that it has this sort of real hunger to it. And it's a real, like almost desperate of his desire for something. And that's kind of where I started from, was just this, part of it is how do you explain and how do you begin to imagine before Geneva and Graham have, put it into words what it's like to grow up as an orphan in the wasteland, uh, and then find yourself, in the ranks of the Brotherhood of Steel. it was like a real launch pad, I think, that image to get us into the right ballpark.
Hmm. Yeah, I think, I mean, that's very fitting, I think, because, we find out that he's constantly been bullied, by Thaddeus and everyone. And like it seems like he also doesn't want to be seen as weak. Like he wants like some elevated status, right?
Yes. But then he's also, I guess, in a system that is, I mean, the Brotherhood itself is beating him down, you know.
Hmm.
Uh it's like having that family unit, but you do feel like an outsider within it. And I think we start this story in a place where Maximus is just beginning to be willing to make his own choices. Uh and what aligns with what he wants and what he desires, and he's willing to go the distance for them.
Hmm. I love that he's also kind of, he's trying to find himself essentially, like, and like also like who to trust too. And I love how you see that just like with him pretending to be Titus,
Hmm.
right? And then he doesn't know like how to be a knight, and then he lies to Lucy that, he is Titus too, like
Yeah,
he's still pretending. So
yeah,
like, but how do you think, like, what is his mindset when he, lies to Thaddeus, and then there's that moment when he decides to come clean and he feels, betrayed because Thaddeus is like, no, this is
yeah,
not gonna fly.
yeah.
You're
It's
gonna
not
get
gonna
in deep
fly.
shit.
Yeah, no, I think a really interesting thing that I always enjoy about people is, and we all do this, we're different based on who is in the room with us. Um, and I think we did a good job of putting so many versions of Maximus into the interrogation scene. There really are, even if they aren't given words, when he's shifting through these different places in his mind. I think it's about yeah, it's like I think he's really trying to be something that he feels like he isn't, but he inherently is that thing. And maybe it's heroic, you know what I mean? I actually feel like I love the task of finding the real Maximus when looking through the series, because he does show himself, but he really does also cover and pretend quite a lot. But boy, yeah, what is that like for him? Especially having, he, I think, inherently is wanting to trust,
Mhm.
like you're saying. He really wants to trust. He wants to reclaim this sort of family that he once had, and really getting hurt at the attempt to find that, by the wasteland, or the people. But
Yeah. And I like that you see these like various levels of betrayal throughout for him. Like initially it was Dane, and kind of minor maybe, and then Thaddeus, right? He thought he could trust him after
Mhm.
he branded him. And then at the end with Lucy, like he thinks she ditched him.
Yeah,
Yeah. So I
yeah,
also love the relationship between the two of them, Lucy and Maximus, because there's like so much contrast between them, but they're also kind of similar. Is
yes.
how did you and Ella talk about that as well?
Yes, the biggest thing for me is about conflict on screen, and I don't mean fighting necessarily. I just mean that when two characters have different perspectives on the same thing, then that's what's watchable. So often it was really trying to map ourselves, against each other, in sometimes funny and fun ways. The bridge scene, uh, when we come across, two other human beings in the wasteland, and how, you know, Maximus goes, the 180 very quickly than how Lucy wants to, approach the caution. Maximus thinks like, let's start shooting now. And Lucy thinks like, no, no, we don't know yet. Let's figure out what's happening. But it yeah, those things are always fun, and it really is. It's what is compelling, and it's what is watchable, is two people having a different opinion of something.
Mhm. Yeah, I love that, she is kind of naive about the cruelty of the world, and he's not. He's very cynical, like he's seen stuff.
Totally. Yes,
Yeah.
yeah.
And but like he is naive about like kind of like human connection, right? Like, and having
Yes.
friends, and that's kind of what he seeks, and he doesn't know anything about sex
Yeah.
apparently. So
Yeah.
yeah, I also love the episode when you guys are in Vault 4 and he's kind of like being brainwashed by them to just like love vault life. So what was shooting that whole sequence when he's just relaxing in the robe eating oysters?
Yeah, it was really fun. I mean, especially because it does start in this place of, he thinks that they're trying to trap him there at the beginning. And it gets totally subverted, by the pleasures of canned food and hot water, even just running water. I enjoyed making a bit of a callback to the character of Monty in the first episode with Lucy, of just playing with the sink for a moment, of like, I can't believe they just have fresh water at the turn of a knob,
Like I've been drinking this dirty water my whole
my
life.
whole life. Yeah.
The show is very funny. There's a lot of just dark humor and just also some great gags too. But you have some really fun line readings, I feel like, which is they're not like punchlines, but also like when you guys are escaping Vault 4 and he beats everyone up and she's like, no, 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 they're letting me go. And he's like, oh, oops. Someone
Yeah.
check on
Yeah.
that guy. So
Yeah.
how did you approach those like comedic scenes?
Well, it is, I think, a tightrope that you want to walk, because um you don't want to not have earned the dramatic moments by pulling yourself or the audience too far away from them. So I think it's just always about trying to find some sense of truth to the moment. And the oops, I think, came out of like, just trying to imagine, uh what do you say? I've clearly smashed everything, but also trying to make it not as bad as what I obviously have just done. Uh, and at the same time, it's this new connection that he's also making to Lucy, where the characters are doing an amazing thing where they're taking from each other. It's not an okie dokie moment, but it's almost like, yeah, there's a way to say something nicely and it'll go away, I think it just came trying to explore that
Yeah.
sort of sense of things.
He didn't mean to, so
It didn't mean to.
no.
Oh, oops.
Yeah, oops. Well, there's a very haunting moment, like your final scene at the end in the finale when he thinks Lucy just left him and Moldiver dies and the Brotherhood thinks he killed her when she just died of her wounds and they basically knight him.
Hmm.
And I love like the look on your face because initially you're like, no, that's not what happened, but then you kind of like let it sink in and it's like this is like kind of like what I've been chasing, right? Like this
Yeah.
like power and status. So how did you play that scene? How did you approach it?
Um, well, it was in the volume, which is always an interesting thing, whenever you get to work with a more real element, as opposed to like a green screen. So you feel like you are in the place where you are. It felt like we were in that observatory, and uh yeah, it really, I think, is about trying to, I thought it was about trying to really want something different, and to be saddened. I mean, I think we all can relate to something like that in our lives. Like, you chase something for a long time, and by the time you actually get it, you've moved on. And he was trying to move on, and it's this horrible, I think, feeling for him to be stuck, to have to settle for a life that is the opposite of where his morals were maybe taking him. And I think we all, from the beginning of the series, we know what he's capable of to some degree. I always thought the Titus kill scene seemed like a very appropriate first kill. It seemed like how a normal person would just stand by and not help, is,
Mhm.
is a different sort of way. And of course, I think the character is also threatening Maximus in that moment. But it really did. It seemed like he was maybe bending towards this life, and with Lucy, and going to a vault, and maybe being happy. And I think he's got some ideal of that newly placed in his mind, and now we have the trouble of, will he be forced into more violent acts. Like, who will he be by the time he hopefully gets to see Lucy again? Like, will he have walked through the fire and be different because of it, or is he going to try and hold on to what he's taken from that character, and change?
Yeah, because now also the Brotherhood has embraced him, right? Like they've never had before.
Yeah,
So yeah, tough stuff there.
yeah,
Well, we gotta talk about the power armor suits. They're real.
they're
What,
real.
tell me all about them. What was it like being in them? How heavy was it?
They're all extremely heavy. We have multiple sort of there's multiple sort of things that Jonah had to sort of conduct all together to really make that thing come to life. There is the clamshell, as we would call it, which is, it's a statuesque sort of version that you climb in and the back is open and it can close on you. Um, we had the inside the helmet setup that took maybe four different setups, putting a lot of different shots together, because Jonah, I think, was really smart in wanting to do his own thing. I think it's very Iron Man-esque, but it also, it was an opportunity, I think, for him to try and do something new with that type of visual. And then we have the full hero suit, which is our 6'6", stunt man. Adam Shippey wears that, making him over 7 feet tall with the platforms and everything. And then there's the top half of the suit, which I have to wear, which,
How does it feel being inside that?
oh, it's the silliest thing ever when you first put it on. It's really heavy. It's 50, 60 pounds, with the helmet and everything and the motors to lift the visor and the scope. And I would always dance around, and I don't know why. I think it was just like people would look at you and be like, "That's crazy," and
And
you'd
then
be
you do
like, "Yeah,
something
look what
silly.
I can do." And then you're walking the set and you're out of breath, and you're like, "Why was I dancing for these people?" Like, my
Now I
day's
have to
just
work.
starting. Now I have to work. Where do can I get take a 10?
Yeah.
We just started, Aaron. Ooh,
They
okay.
need to, whenever the show ends, they need to give you one of the suits.
I would love one. I would
I
go
don't
to
know
the
where you would keep it,
store.
but
I would go to the grocery store. I'd be trying to drive my car in that thing safely, I hope. Uh,
top
you
down,
know,
so that way you can fit.
you'd be half out the window.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, I mean, it's an incredible practical element to the show. And when you see people actually have a reaction to it, just seeing it move, seeing Adam in the full thing, walking by, and you see the sea of people part, it that all gives like a reality to things that we don't have to imagine. We don't have to uh, really work as hard. We get to reinvest ourselves in like the other things that matter more.
And like as a viewer, I think you can tell too, like that it's not green screen, or
Yeah.
CGI or anything. So
Yeah.
it's like it's tactile, like you can tell. So
Is it?
well, lastly,
Mhm.
what are your hopes for season two?
My
Where,
hopes for season two.
yes, where
My
does
hopes are
Max go from here?
my hopes for season two. My hopes are just, that well, I do know this, and I think it's really exciting. It always felt like a really good start to season one. So I would just say that, like, the characters and the way that they're going to continue to develop and change, it's going to be really interesting for all of us to watch, and of course for all of us sacrificing to collaborate on this monster of a production. I think we're all really happy with the work and proud of it, and I think we all would love to get the opportunity to return to the wasteland.
Hmm. I mean, there's the Easter egg of Las Vegas. I know that. I read about that.
Right.
So
Google,
Google,
yeah.
there you go. So
Yeah.
well, Aaron, it was great speaking with you. Thanks so much for your time. Have a
Oh,
great day.
thank you so much.